we're going to talk about Elgato Stream Deck. Why? Because how can you even do anything in life now with an Elgato Stream Deck? You can use it with so many applications. I use it with Ecamm Live, but you can use it with OBS, you can use it with Final Cut Pro, you can use it with DaVinci Resolve, you can use it with Microsoft Teams, you can use it with Zoom. I could go on for a couple of hours about all the different programs you can use it with, but I'm no expert, but I know somebody it is. You just came out just this week with an updated Stream Deck Masterclass. You had one previously, I think, and you've just updated it. And there are just so many different Stream Decks. And I thought, man, it'd be great to have you on and just do a conversation about Stream Deck and just to kind of talk about your workflow and then take questions from the community, just to find out different things. And I'm seem to be nervous, and so I'm going to slow down now. Bumblebee tuna. Okay, I'm better now. Thank you. Just how long have you been live streaming? How long have you been going live doing content creation?
I guess it's just over 2 years. So it was May 2021 was when I first started. And that was why I got the Stream Deck. It was obviously for controlling Ecamm Live, which is what I use for streaming too. And all my videos on my channel are just all made in one take with no edits. So I wanted a way to control Ecamm whilst I was making those to enable that process really. Yeah, so it's been 2 years, and I never realized when I bought the Stream Deck just what an integral part of this of my life this device would become, just in terms of using it for all different aspects. I'm sure we'll dig into some, but for productivity and everything, it's been quite a revelation.
Yeah, but there are a bunch of Stream Decks. So let's go take a look at the main one. So the Stream Deck pedal. So do you use a Stream Deck pedal?
I do, yeah. I've got my setup is 2 Stream Deck XLs, 2 pedals, and a Stream Deck Plus. So I love the pedal. I was using pedals actually before the pedal came out, which was just a generic USB one, and then I was using Keyboard Maestro, which is a Mac automation software to sort of program the pedals to do different things. But no, yeah, one under each foot.
All right. And then this one seems a complete waste of time to me. But anyway, this is a Stream Deck Mini.
You know, I always used to think that as well. But my friend Michelle Lawrence, LBC Branding, she uses one of these. But what she does is she actually holds it in her hand. So she's got the other Stream Decks as well. But this is kind of like the one in her hand with some like go-to scenes and things like that she always wants. And so when she's like doing her live streams and presentations, she's actually literally holding this and she knows where the buttons are. So it's got its place as well.
Yeah, I could see like next scene or something like that. That would be neat. This is they came out with this last year, the Stream Deck MK2, which I had the original 15 button before where you could change out the kind of the plastic cover on it. I kept having gear acquisition syndrome because I kept having to go through so many pages in order to get my scenes going. And so that was yeah, that made me crazy. So finally, like Christmas, said, the heck with it. Somebody give me some gift cards for Amazon. I'm getting the XL. So I still like this one now that I use this on my Windows PC for Teams. Mm-hmm. And then this is the one that I'm in love with, the Stream Deck XL. Did I see you have 2 of these on your desk?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One under each hand, and then the Stream Deck Plus controls those 2 bits. But the thing about the 15 key versus the 32, I think the reason why so many people buy the 15 key is because when they first get it or when they first see it, they think, what do I need to do? I need to switch maybe 4 or 5 scenes, let's say for Ecamm, for example. I need a record button, a stop button, maybe one to control the chat. I'll probably be good with 15 keys. But then what happens is you get it and you realize there is so much more that I could be doing with this. And so then it's kind of like, I should have got the 32. So, yeah.
That was where I was at. So I literally I went with the 15, I literally went through 5 screens of pages. And then I went to the 32 and like, strangely, I can get it all done on one screen.
Right.
I don't know how that is. I guess because I don't have all the page buttons that go between pages. And then this is the latest, the Stream Deck Plus. So do you have one of these? And what, I think you did. Oh yeah, you do. You did a video about it. What is your thoughts on this one?
Yeah. So this one is great because of the dials you can use to adjust things like, for example, still with Ecamm, adjusting all the different volume levels in Ecamm for system audio, mic, and all of that. You can also assign all of your interview guests as well to the dials. And the dials actually, although there's 4 dials, when you press the dial in, you can kind of cycle between different things. So I have all of my system audio, mic, and things like that on one dial. and then my potentially 10 guest slots are all on a second dial. So that enables me to sort of just scroll through them and adjust individual levels. And then, other things like Photoshop brush size and things where you might want like rotary action to control things.
Yeah.
But what I actually use the buttons for on the top is in Stream Deck, you can switch profiles. So if you when you run out of buttons on one page, you can either create multiple pages, or you can also create different profiles for different some sort of use cases. So the Stream Deck Plus kind of sits in the middle of the other two, and pressing the buttons on that one basically changes what is being displayed on the other two. So that's kind of how I control what's going on the other two.
Yeah, that definitely feels like Stream Deck madness there, but that's really cool. First of all, you mentioned that you use the Stream Deck Plus to change out the profiles for the other two Stream Decks. When you're on a live stream, what's your process for setting up scenes? You're obviously an Ecamm user, like a lot of us here on this group. And so just what's your process whenever you're setting up? And you mentioned about doing your video and you wanted to minimize your edits. What's your work process there for optimizing using the Stream Deck?
So I don't really change my my Stream Deck setup from like one live stream to the next, or from one video to the next. I've basically just got consistent layout all the time, so I know exactly where the different scenes are, and so there's not much sort of setup of the Stream Deck from that point of view. But I do just have a consistent set of scenes that I sort of flick between using the buttons on the Stream Deck, and then obviously the record and buttons and things like that, and any new overlays that need to come up. That might be something that changes from one live stream or one video to the next, if there's a particular graphic that needs to come up on screen that I want to assign to a button. But it's all about, for me, the thing that really adds the power to this is when you've got that muscle memory, you know exactly where things are going to be. And incidentally, adding the second Stream Deck XL came when I basically did run out of buttons on the first Stream Deck that I was going to be using in any sort of live environment, as it were. So be that in a live stream, be it in a recorded video. But I also use Ecamm and the Stream Deck to do virtual presentations and meeting presentations and things like that, and webinars. So whenever it is that I want to be able to have full control of everything, then that's when I added in the extra 32 key, because I never wanted to be in a situation where I've got to think about what page I'm on the Stream Deck. So that was basically when I filled up what I need in a live situation. That's when I added in the second Stream Deck XL.
Okay.
And I'm from a recording point of view, I just do all of my videos as if they are live streams, effectively, just live to tape, I guess.
Yeah. Now, I think I read somewhere you are an aeronautics engineer by trade.
That's my background. I haven't done that for years, actually. So,
I was going to say, how does that lead into content creation and live streaming? That's what I was trying to figure out.
Okay, so if you want to take it from there to here, it's a long story, because I went through several different evolutions since then. Most recently, I live in Thailand. I've been here for 17 years, and the sort of first, I guess, decade or just over a decade of that was actually architectural design and construction. But that's another whole story. But the reason I got into Ecamm, though, and the reason why I started doing these like one-take videos, is because I was making some course content for another business that I was running. And so I wanted to make the course content, but I was my own worst enemy when it came to editing, because I would always take multiple different takes, and I just wanted a way to just get the information out, just as if I was sitting, talking to a friend, a colleague, or whoever it was. So that's why I wanted to explore this whole idea of one-take videos. And so the YouTube channel was kind of really a way to test that all out, to test that process of just creating videos in one take, to then go on and make the course content. And then it's only over how the channel has evolved that then this has also then become a whole business in its own right. That's sort of how I came to this point. I missed out a few steps along the way, but that's why I started the channel out.
And then you were talking about, so whenever you're trying to do kind of a one-take video, let me guess, you probably mix in buttons with B-roll, and you have scenes you've already set up with titles and that type of thing, and very much trying to minimize the edit process so that you just kind of play it, each scene. Do you script yourself, or do you use a teleprompter and you kind of tie that together, or you just kind of impromptu?
It's all impromptu. I don't really do any. I don't do any scripting, and the B-roll thing is only actually something I've done relatively recently, because all of my videos on my channel tend to be tech tutorials. So It's just me to camera, but then a scene set up with a screen share and things like that. More recently, when I've been covering more product stuff, like all the new road announcements, then I've just got a series of scenes with basically a setup for a particular B-roll video that then auto advances back to the main scene of me, kind of a bit like this, I guess. And so then what I do is I just literally have to go through Ecamm, get all the different bits of B-roll that I want to add in, and I just drop them into the scene. But then Stream Deck auto updates with all of the the little thumbnails you get on the Stream Deck when you are linking it up when you are using a scene in Ecamm as the you're triggering it. So then I kind of just see what all of the different B-roll scenes are anyway. So that's all on the second Stream Deck XL is any B-roll that I'm doing during the live stream or video.
Very cool. So I want to kind of let everybody see kind of behind the scenes. So here is, so if you have a Stream Deck, and I have the Stream Deck XL, and I did have the 15 and the XL at one time, but it just became madness trying to keep things, because it would switch up on me. We were talking about this before the show, how sometimes the profile issue was just doing craziness. But anyway, the really cool thing about the Stream Deck is that you can do so many amazing things. And it's here, I've got it set for doing Ecamm Live. But you'll see here, there's Twitch Studio. So if you were a Twitch, do live streaming on Twitch, you could use it here. And these are just things that came right out of the box. YouTube, chat messages, and viewers. So if you were streaming directly into YouTube as opposed to using something like this. And then there's the 10,000 things you can do with Ecamm if you're looking for other things to add for overlays. And so what programs all do you use that you have that you use your Stream Deck with?
I use it really kind of for every aspect of my working life now. I mean, I bought it, as I say, for Ecamm and just for that, but it has become for me like the ultimate irreplaceable productivity tool. So I use lots of the different plugins, but it's actually more about linking it into automation for everything else that I'm doing on my computer, regardless of whether there's a specific plugin for it. So I use an application called Keyboard Maestro, which is a Mac automation software. So I use that really heavily. But one of the things about Stream Deck is you can use it to kind of set up your whole workflows. And one of the things that takes a lot of time when you're getting into doing anything, any aspect of your day job or whatever it is this thing of getting everything all set up and getting everything on the screen exactly where you need it to be able to just get into your work. And some people have a different sort of, let me say, haphazard approach to, placing things on the screen. It's not always in exactly the same place every time. And that whole thing of not being really structured and organized with even your desktop layout on your computer can just add friction and sort of slow you down in everything that you are doing. If it isn't sort of muscle memory as to, where the browser window is, where, the different application windows are or whatever, then that can actually really slow you down. So there's another application called Moom, which is for window management on the Mac. And so I use that whereby I save different snapshots of the locations of all the different apps on my screen. So when I come to do a particular task, whatever it is, I can press one button on Stream Deck, and with the multi-action that you have in Stream Deck, you can add in lots of different things into a single button. And so what that will do is it will trigger a series of things, including a Keyboard Maestro macro, but it's basically just opening up all the different apps for that particular thing, and it's putting them all in exactly the right place on my screen that I'm used to them being for that particular task. And so with a touch of a button, I can just get into a particular work mode. And then I've got another one to get rid of everything and close it all down. But I find that is where it can add value and sort of efficiency, is just reducing the friction to me actually getting to do the thing I want to do. And that comes down to a personal productivity, personal procrastination, and things like that with me as well. I'm always trying to combat the little demons in my head that are stopping me from working efficiently. And if I feel like something's too much of a hassle to get it all set up, it's just another potential point where I might think, I haven't got time to do that now. Whereas if I know that I can just press a button to get into that work frame of mind, then it sort of helps the process along for me.
The music, most people don't realize this, there is all these sounds built into the Stream Deck that you can use for, they're free if you own a Stream Deck, so you can use them all you want. They're royalty free because they come with the Stream Deck. And so you can go download these here and program them to different buttons and just find all kind of cool stuff here. and use that. I've used some of that. And then definitely if you want to install different icons, so maybe you want to put different things, just what's kind of, yours are probably really tricked out on it. Do you go through and you make your own icons for that?
I certainly do, yeah. Just to answer the question, though, about the icons, I do take the time to make my own icons, and I actually use Keynote. It's really easy to make just a square slide in Keynote. Keynote's something I'm really familiar with. I do have the whole Adobe suite, but I just find for the simple kind of pictogram style icons that I use, Keynote's really easy to do that. But there is a real point to this as well, though. It's not just about making it look pretty. If you think about how much time and effort and money companies spend designing user interfaces for websites, for applications, for everything, really, it's an important thing, isn't it? If user interface design technicians or companies designers just put a series of random buttons all over the app so it didn't look all consistent, then you would get a lot of complaints from users. And really, when we get our Stream Deck, we've got essentially a completely blank canvas, and we are the architects of our own user interface for our Stream Decks. And so I think it's really important actually to have a well-designed set of icons, whether you buy them. There's a great site called Sideshow FX that has all of the icons for all of the Adobe Creative Suite, a lot of the things like Affinity Designer and so on. So Sideshow FX has got some really great selections of icons. I've got a few on my store as well, but they're by no means as extensive as Sideshow FX. So they're a great source for that. But as I say, I tend to just design my own for exactly what I'm doing. And I don't tend to have text on them as well. Some people have really busy icons with lots of text. I find that, if you think to what does a button look like in an application, it's usually really quite a simple pictogram that they have to describe what the button does. And so I try to always fall back to that approach myself. And then it not only looks nice and feels nice to use, but it's actually more of a usability thing for me. That's my feeling on that one.
Let's see. Every time I update my Stream Deck, all my previous settings get lost and I have to set them up again. What am I doing wrong?
I've not had anything like that, actually. I don't know. When you do a software update in Stream Deck, it shouldn't lose anything that you've set up in it. So I'm not quite sure why that would be. That does sort of highlight the point of always do keep a backup. I'm sure I'm sure you do, but yeah, in the preferences there's an option to backup. Just always having a regular backup at certain intervals if you're going through and updating your Stream Deck to make sure you've got that.
Now, Lala, you were talking about. I was going to say I would recommend before you do an update, if you're having this problem consistently, to definitely either export out your profile before you start, or have it create a backup, and then after you do the update, you can restore from backup that profile. So that would be, that's what Alec was talking about, is definitely make a backup ahead of time. And I have a special folder where I back up all my Ecamm stuff and my Stream Deck stuff, and then I have it back up to my Google Drive and also to an external drive because I'm extra paranoid. So that's the kind of stuff I do. So that might be something to try. Lala, to see if that will allow you to get back your profiles after the update happens. So now, in your course, that I know now that you have a new master class for the Stream Deck, what kind of topics does the course cover?
It's really intended to give people an overall grounding in Stream Deck. So to begin with, so first of all, it's talking about like the way to organize your Stream Deck using profiles and how to think about it. And we talked about a couple of things here, like user interface design and designing your own icons. So those two things are really core components that are about the organization and the personalization that all make it a really usable device that you can fit into your workflow rather than struggling to figure out where different buttons are, and so they don't just become that muscle memory thing that I keep talking about. So that's the like one aspect to it, and then obviously it is for a complete beginner as well. So it does talk about just how to use it, how to use plugins and actions, and give some grounding into the basics of that as well. But then it moves on to really three core areas. So the first one is using it for productivity, which I've mentioned is kind of like the way that I primarily use this now. It's I'm using it all day, every day. And so talking about how you can use it to become much more efficient in everything that you do, not just maybe the reason that you bought the Stream Deck in the first place. The second area is about live streaming and live video production. Obviously, That's its intended purpose. So there's a whole section that just covers specifically that and how I use it. Some of my workflows with Ecamm Live, for example. And then the final major section of it is to do with online meetings and presentations. And that kind of builds really on the live video production, I guess, because, it's when we can use Ecamm Live to really level up our online meetings in Zoom and Teams and so on, then that's sort of almost hand in hand with that. But there is another whole aspect to this. And I find that the Ecamm Live virtual camera into virtual meetings on Teams and Zoom and so on, or maybe just delivering webinars or any other online platform, it really can enhance them. But I think some people are a bit daunted about the idea of having 3 separate apps that they're running all at the same time, like their meeting platform, like Ecamm, like Keynote and PowerPoint, and merging it all together into this one like really slick production that is then being fed into their meeting platform. And the daunting aspect to it is the fact that you have got multiple different things at play or in play that you've got to control. And I actually find that the Stream Deck really removes that potential issue because it actually unifies everything. So you basically have a mission control, which is your Stream Deck, and that is controlling Zoom, but it's also controlling your Keynote or PowerPoint or whatever, and then it's also controlling your Ecamm as well. And it really makes for a completely slick experience for your viewers in your or meeting participants in your meeting. Just in the same way that it can do for a live stream as well. You can have all of that going into Zoom and Teams. So I focus on that aspect of it as well. Obviously, there are hundreds of plugins, thousands and thousands of actions. So I don't cover all of those, but it hopefully gives a framework for how to use the Stream Deck in general for all of those things. So that's kind of the idea of the course.
What's your video editing platform?
I don't edit. It's all just live in Ecamm.
Literally just make it live every time. I am jealous.
Yeah, and no post-production at all. So I just hit record and it's not live as in not live to the platform, but it's recorded live in one take with no edits. That's the whole point of it. If you want to do that sort of thing, but maybe like a 30-minute video, you might need to refer to notes or something like that.
Sure.
They do have a pause button in Ecamm, so it is possible if you want to refer to notes to record and then hit the pause, glance away, glance back, and then continue like that. That's one option that means that you get a seamless video, but without the edits. I know that works for some people. I still just do it in one take, and hence all of the ums and ers and the generally rambling nature of some of my videos.
Yeah, that's just incredible. I just like that workflow. Tall Boy always asks, what is your favorite go-to button on the Stream Deck for both of you? Sound effects, scene, or something else?
For me, that has got to be the hotkey button, like that you can trigger a keyboard shortcut, because that one key, then you can just do anything in any application. And it is the one that is genuinely like the most used as well, because so many things don't have plugins. And as I say, I use it predominantly now, really more so as just a general productivity device than for live streaming. So yeah, I guess it's just that hotkey button to be able to do then anything in any application. That's got to be my most used one, at least.
Definitely, you got to go Take One Tech with Alec and follow him on YouTube. If you don't, I can't think of anybody here that doesn't already. But if you don't, you got to go fix that right now. So fix that, and then you'll notice on his page there's a link right here to join our community that takes you to his site. And when you get to his site, you will see right here the much anticipated Stream Deck Masterclass is now available. And go to courses, and if you go to Masterclasses, and you will find, I just passed it, there you go, the Stream Deck Masterclass, which right now with the code is 25% off until the end of June. I have a code in my description for this video, so please go click that link and go look at it and sign up for it, and you'll get 25% off the course until the end of June. Anyway, here are great places you can find. I just showed you this already, but definitely takeonetech.io, and then on definitely his YouTube channel at Take One Tech. So you definitely need to go to both of those places and find them. And definitely, sir, what's the thing everybody needs to know about the Stream Deck that we just somehow skipped talking about?
It's not so much something we skip, but I think it's worth reiterating that the thing about organization and the way that you personalize it is seriously not something to be overlooked, because I find so many people that I have like coaching calls with and things like that say, oh yeah, I've got the Stream Deck, but I haven't really used it, or it's been kind of plugged in, but it kind of sits there not doing anything. And the reason why that invariably is because it hasn't found its way into the workflow because of like it's lacking the ease of use. But as I say, we are the architect of our own user interface when it comes to the Stream Deck. And so spending some time thinking about the way that you're going to organize it. And by the way, the most popular video on my YouTube channel is one all about using profiles. And although I've got multiple Stream Decks, I started with one, and having a home profile that you then link to all of your other different profiles. So you can always get back to your home. Think of it like your home screen on your phone or something. But then you press the button and it opens up another profile for a different use case that you've got. And so then you can easily get into a particular profile for whatever it is that you're doing. And then couple that with designing the icons, or at least finding some consistent looking icons. So it's a pleasure for you to use and look at. We'll just add to that and allow you to use it, more to get more out of it, I guess, and use it in more aspects of your daily life.
And James Hicks got a great question. You've already alluded to this a little bit already, but he wants you to talk about leveraging multiple Stream Decks at the same time and how you split your tasks.
So I've got different profiles for different apps, only to collect together all of the different, almost like a library, if you like, of all of the different apps that I might want to use Stream Deck for. But then what I do is I have a profile specifically for a different work mode, a different frame of mind. And that means that then, I've got my Zoom profile that can do everything in Zoom. But then when I'm on just a one-to-one coaching call, I don't need to worry about gallery view and switching pages in the gallery and things like that, or, grabbing the invite link, which you can do with a button on Stream Deck and all that kind of stuff. I literally only need a few controls for Zoom. And the same with Ecamm. I use Ecamm for my live streams, and so I want to be able to control everything on my live stream. But when I'm on a coaching call, I just need to control a few scenes and a few different things like that. So I have then obviously a profile that is for my coaching calls. So it's just got only the things that I need on it. Same if I'm running a virtual presentation or a webinar or something, that then has some other things to do with Keynote and controlling that aspect. So being very sort of mindful of what the different work modes that you are potentially going to be in, and have a profile for that, so that even whilst you are in a particular work mode, you also don't find yourself constantly switching back and forth between profiles, going in and out of the Excel profile or the whichever ones you've created. So I think about frames of mind, basically, that I might be in at any time. And then the key one to this is the button, which is the action. If you look in your Stream Deck actions, there is one under navigation. Incidentally, one thing that I think caught a few people out is that there used to be a Stream Deck plugin with about 30 different actions in it that was for controlling the Stream Deck itself. But then in a recent update, or maybe a few months ago, they split those out into 3 different sections. So you now have a Stream Deck grouping, and then there's also one called navigation. But within that navigation, there is one there that's called switch profile, as well as being able to switch profile on device. So having like a home profile and being able to switch. There's also just an option in there that you can choose which device you want to switch the profile on, and choose the profile on that specific device. So that's how, if you've got multiple Stream Decks, to finally get into James's question, if you've got multiple Stream Decks, having one that has a series of different buttons for different profiles you may want on the second Stream Deck, and then you're pressing those and it's updating what's on the second Stream Deck, can be really useful. And also you can tie that into multi-actions as well. So I've got multi-actions for all my profile switches on my Stream Deck Plus, that when I press the button, it actually updates my pedals and my 2 Stream Deck XLs at the same time with that setup. So it really feels like I've just got a complete dashboard for whatever I'm doing, and pedals, just with the touch of one button, and it sets everything up for that particular work mode that I happen to be in.
Huge Man Wit says, my Stream Deck seems to jump to a default program after a few seconds unless I have the Stream Deck software open. Is this normal?
I would just recommend just turning off default profile, because what that does is in Stream Deck, there is a way that you can assign a specific application to a profile, which some people like when they go into Photoshop. They got all their Photoshop things there automatically. If they go into another app, it brings up all the actions for that particular app, which is great. So the point about that default profile, though, is if you are doing that with different applications, then it's saying if you go into an application that doesn't have a profile assigned to it, then it's going to go back to that default profile. But I mentioned just a moment ago about how I prefer to have multiple profiles for each individual kind of work mode that I happen to be in. And so therefore, for me, there is no one default profile because I'm in and out of multiple applications. And I actually found that to be more of a frustration than it was worth. So I would recommend just going and deactivating that default profile, which you can do. Just go into the profiles setting of preferences and just make sure the one you'll see a little icon next to it, which is kind of like a box with 9 little squares. Just go and deactivate that, so there's no default profile, and it'll fix that. You can just change the profile manually depending on with buttons, but depending on which what frame of work you happen to be in.
Yeah, thank you very much. Definitely, everybody go out and hit those links. You definitely have to go and see Alec and go to his YouTube channel, and definitely recommend you take the Stream Deck Masterclass. And that's a wrap. I'm supposed to tell you some call to action. So here's that big subscribe. If you like this kind of stuff, you're supposed to subscribe to it already. And here we go. Here's that outro. I always have to check my arrow. Yeah, Google's going to tell you to watch a video. YouTube's going to tell you to watch a video. And there'll be a big subscribe button in the middle. So hit that. And thanks so much for watching.